This is my house.
After last weekend's videos, a discussion broke out around the question, can Sydney Sweeney act? I've seen her in two things recently, Madam Web and the movie Immaculate, and from those two I can conclude that Sydney Sweeney can indeed act. It's just sometimes in films she seems to choose not to. But I'll put it this way, I've seen a lot worse.
They're eating her! And then they're going to eat me! Oh my God!
So I went to look for more proof either way, and possibly ill-advisedly, I went to watch another of Sydney's recent movies, Anyone But You. Now, before I do this is not going to be a very fair test, because Anyone But You is a romantic comedy, and I hate romantic comedies with a passion. They're one of my least favourite film genres along with musicals, and maybe only topped on my hate list by musical romantic comedies. So the chances of me liking this are going to be slim. I tend to find romantic comedies to be neither romantic or funny. They tend to be pitched at women, so they tend to end up quite sexist against men. Like ads pitched at women tend to make men look like knuckle-dragging dolts, and women seem fine with it. The humour all relies on a series of awkward situations. It doesn't make me laugh, it makes me cringe, and I don't see why so many women find embarrassment romantic. Romantic comedies leave me thinking that women are basically unacceptable. Like a woman I used to date, until we got talking one time and she explained how her favourite band were the Monkees. And no, I don't want you to put on Daydream Believer again while we... Never mind that. Romances in films have a very low hit rate for me. When was the last one I actually liked? Well, I liked the romance in the film To Catch a Thief, so let me see now. The last romance I maybe liked in a film was released in 1955. Maybe give that one a go instead. It starred Cary Grant and Grace Kelly and was directed by Alfred Hitchcock. It's quite a nice little film. But getting back to the point, I have maybe not liked romance in the last 69 years. Nice, but that's not the point. The point is, on the basis of this film, I'm probably not going to like. Can Sydney Sweeney act? And seriously, the Monkees! Why do nearly all women have appalling music collections? I mean, I remember one woman, and I was interested until I'm back at her house, look around, and on a shelf on my right, yep, that appears to be everything Barry Manilow has ever recorded, tucked between books on astronomy and Wiccan, and I'm just going to see myself out. From here on in, there will be spoilers, in as much as I can spoil a romantic comedy. In the movie, Sydney Sweeney is playing the female romantic lead, B, and she has a body that's frankly not meant for athletics. She's interning and goes to a cafe because she needs the bathroom, but the staff won't give her the key unless she buys something, and she can't buy something because there's a massive queue going out of the door. Enter our male lead, Ben, who comes to her rescue as he is at the front of the queue. He pretends she's his wife, buys her a drink and gets her the bathroom key. And there's a little something there from Sydney Sweeney.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was really nice.
She does seem to have forgotten the urgently needing the bathroom part as she stands there flirting. She doesn't look like a woman who's needed to go for 6 hours, but this is where the question gets complicated. If an actor puts in a bad performance, is it always their fault? All we can see is what's on screen, so we're not seeing the effect the director had on the performance. A good director, like Stanley Kubrick, could get a top-tier performance out of an actor that frankly couldn't deliver it otherwise. He allegedly made Shelley Duvall do the baseball bat scene in The Shining 122 times in a row while shouting abuse at her. But was she even acting at that point? If the actress is genuinely terrified, I'm not sure they're acting any longer. And I think that's further than I'd go in the pursuit of art, but I probably won't ever make art that's a match for that film. A director can also make an actor give a bad performance. The story about the Star Wars prequels is that George Lucas asked Hayden Christensen to intentionally be more wooden.
What about the other Jedi spread across the galaxy?
I don't like sand.
So is that Hayden Christensen's fault, if that's what George Lucas asked him for? B goes into the bathroom while Ben waits outside with her jacket to sell the idea that they're really married, and she's in the bathroom talking on the phone to her friend, telling her about the cute guy she's just met. And why? Why are women like this? Why does your friend need a running commentary while you leave the guy you like waiting outside the bathroom for you and maybe blowing your chances with him? He just helped her and did her a favour, and she's already being really rude. She's already acting like he's only there for her convenience. She's not paying attention while she's talking and washing her hands, and manages to soak the entire front of her jeans, that she then tries to dry using the hand dryer while she leaves him waiting even longer because she doesn't want him to think she wet herself. And that's still more acceptable than a woman I used to go out with that wanted me to roleplay as a vampire and bite her neck while we... Never mind that right now. B comes out and despite liking him, she's just going to walk off. I don't know why she can't ask him out, maybe because women are intensely annoying. Equality only seems to apply, it seems, when it benefits women. She's leaving when Ben tells her to stop because he notices that she has toilet paper trailing from her shoe, and she says, "Are you going to ask me out then?" Then we get a date in the form of a montage, which is a really lazy way of doing character development. Isn't seeing their relationship the whole point of a romantic comedy? Yes? So why are we fast forwarding through it? I thought at first it was supposed to be several dates in the montage when they did that, because that position's a bit forward for a man you met a few hours ago. Sydney Sweeney does ditzy and happy quite well though, and I'm getting emotions coming through from her. He makes her what appears to be the most oily croque monsieur I've ever seen, then they fall asleep on a couch while talking, having had a great date together, and for some reason that maybe you have to be a woman to understand, she tries to sneak out in the morning when she wakes up. She really likes him, so she leaves without saying goodbye or giving him her number, all after he'd been really nice to her, and when he learns this, it really upsets him. She's so noisy that she manages to wake him up putting her shoes on. She then calls her friend again after she leaves, who tells her that she's making an enormous mistake. She then goes back to the guy's house and walks in to find the guy being teased by a friend of his, who says he's in love with her. And he's hurt, so she hears him say, "The woman was a disaster and I couldn't get rid of her fast enough." And again, I get emotions from Sydney Sweeney's performance. She's maybe underacting a bit for the scenario she's playing. I'm getting some upset and shock, just maybe not as much as the situation calls for. From this point going forward, the two characters hate each other. They're both hurt. Months go by and they end up reunited. Sydney Sweeney's sister is getting married to one of his oldest friends, and they've both been invited to the wedding in Australia. Their friends invited them both, despite knowing that they hate each other, and they have them staying in the same beach house together. The two of them together almost burn it down fighting over a firework. They end up on the same plane together going over to Australia, and there's a very silly scene where she tries to steal his cookie while he's sleeping and ends up getting her clothes trapped when the seat moves. He nearly gets a mouthful of cookie as well. Why do so many women like romantic comedies? The scenario is ridiculous. Instead of moving the seat back in order to free her clothes, she tries to yank them out, resulting in this. Sydney's ex-fiancé is also at the wedding, who her parents are trying to get her back with, and their friends are trying to get them to make up so they don't ruin the wedding. So B and Ben pretend to be a couple and end up falling in love for real. When B falls off a boat, Ben dives in to rescue her. They're then rescued by the Coast Guard and make love. He'd just been rescued from Sydney Harbour and moments later found himself in another one. I had to take multiple breaks to go away and cringe trying to watch this film. I was not expecting to like it, then I watched it, and I didn't. It wasn't so bad at first, even though the humour was all awkward situations, but I just about held on until they started singing the song Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield, out of tune, and then Ben threw himself off a cliff at the end, so the Coast Guard would pick him up and he could have a romantic moment with B, and I lost it. That's not romantic, it's wildly selfish. He's just inconvenienced the Coast Guard twice in a matter of days. Then the whole cast starts singing Natasha Bedingfield out of tune, and by the end of this film I hated it. But it wasn't for me. The only thing I liked in the film was the Aussie geezer who was played like a crass oaf.
Oh, yeah. You know, you had a proper surf when sand gets all up your clacker.
He was the only one who wasn't insufferable in the entire cast. Also, the lead female hit the lead male quite a lot in this film, in ways that would frankly not be accepted if the genders were switched. At one point in the film, she just straight up hits him in the dick. And for what? Because he said something she didn't like. It strikes me that to enjoy this, a lot of women hold very sexist attitudes towards men. I would have preferred another Asylum movie to watching this. Maybe even Ice Spiders. The movie has acts broken up by Shakespeare quotes written on walls and such. Only unlike Shakespeare, this has a scene of bottom fondling where the male lead gets an unexpected prostate exam. And yet, I'm not convinced for a second that can really happen by accident. I'm not buying it, ladies. I know what you like. Nor am I convinced it would be played as funny with the genders switched and it was a woman who'd not consented to a surprise insertion. Don't get me wrong. On the strength of these three films, Sydney Sweeney's not a great actor. I had to think about who in my view is. For men, maybe Christian Bale. Maybe Ian McKellen, Jeremy Irons. For women, maybe Kate Blanchett, Fiona Shaw or Helen Mirren. But Sydney Sweeney's young yet. Maybe she'll get better. The problem is that if you select actors based on things other than their ability to act, if you pick them because of their looks or characteristics, the chance of you also getting the best acting talent is really quite slim. But that's where we are now, stuck on superficial. And that's how you end up with films where the female lead is Tara Reid.
Of course!
Never rub another man's rhubarb.